Hello, everyone. This is FPL Kante, welcoming you all to our Game Week 6 review video for FPL Under the Radar. So just do a quick recap of the data from the previous game week in Game Week 6. My voice is still a little sore, so pardon me for that. But we'll come back with our Game Week 7 preview video later this week, of course, with Wrangler and possibly ZD as well. But yeah, let's take a quick look at the data from the past game week. Should be fairly quick. So this is the team data, team XG on x-axis and team XGC on y-axis. Of course, the last game of the week was Newcastle versus Sheffield. Newcastle completely dominated, right? We did point this out a few weeks ago that Sheffield are very, very vulnerable from set pieces, from headers and etc. And that showed up. A lot of the XG that Newcastle created were actually from set pieces, and Sheffield were just super duper poor in defending them. Liverpool keep racking up good numbers, both from an offensive standpoint and from a defensive standpoint. This was against West Ham. West Ham were actually very poor throughout the game. They didn't necessarily put up a lot of fight, but Liverpool were good again, right? They did create a lot of chances throughout the game. Scored 3, could have scored more, to be honest. But yeah, so Liverpool, again, something to look forward to in the next few game weeks. Their fixtures turn better. Arsenal, Tottenham, of course, there was the North London Derby this game week. Arsenal in general looked like the better team throughout the game. Of course, the chunk of their XG is made up of that penalty. But even aside from that, I think in general they created more opportunities throughout the game. Tottenham also had their chances. I think they had more, I would say, clearer chances in the game. But in general, it was a good game, enjoyable game, especially the second half was, first half wasn't as much. But good game in general. Everton did surprise a few of us, right, against Brentford. We were all expecting Brentford to get an easy win, but again, I think Brentford's game all throughout were basically long balls and kind of trying to find players from crosses, etc. That just didn't work out with Everton's tall defenders slash midfielders. So yeah, I mean, overall, as a strategy standpoint, I think Thomas Frank kind of got it wrong, and Everton took advantage of it. But again, I mean, this is kind of an anomaly from an Everton standpoint, from how many chances that they created. Brighton Bournemouth was always going to be one of those games where Brighton would create a lot of chances. They kind of started with a different set of attackers up front, right? Mitoma didn't start, March didn't start, Ferguson did, and Pedro didn't start either. Welbeck did, right? Mitoma did come back, or basically come on as a substitute in the second half and did score 2 goals. But in general, again, I mean, as expected, it was a game that Brighton dominated throughout. Bournemouth, again, did have their chances, but nearly not as good, of course. The other team that's on the top right quadrant is Luton. Their game was against Wolves. And again, I think Wolves were pretty poor. And of course, they got a red card after that. Luton kind of dominated the game as well. Again, I mean, chunk of their XG is also made up of that penalty. But even aside from that, they could have scored a goal or two here and there. So again, I mean, just before that double game week, they did put up a good performance, or something to look forward to. They do play Everton and Burnley in game week 7, so pretty easy double game week as it goes. So something to look forward to for Luton as well. But yeah, I mean, this was kind of again good performance from them in general. Not that we expect Luton to perform like this every week, but just before the double game week, at least something to look forward to. All right, so that's basically the team performance. And again, as already kind of covered, Sheffield and West Ham had very, very poor games defensively and overall. That shows up in the numbers, them being bottom left in this plot and so on. Nothing else, I think, necessarily shows up. Crystal Palace Fulham, maybe quickly can talk about it. It was a very, very boring game. Fulham in general had a better game, but Palace were just very, very, very poor throughout the game. They didn't create any chances. Like really, really blunt. Their attack completely looked blunt. So anyone that were holding or bought Edward or Eze in, it was a very, very frustrating game from them. Fulham, of course, defensively looked good. So if anyone had Fulham defensive assets, must have been a very good game for them, and also for Johnstone owners, etc. But other than that, there are really not a lot happened in this game. So yeah, so that's the team stats. Let's move on to the player stats quickly. So this is basically showing the over and under performance from game week 6 data only for all the players. We are looking at 15 midfielders, 10 defenders, and 10 attackers from highest XP standpoint. And as it shows up here, I mean, of course, talk of the town this week is Kieran Trippier and Son. But as the data suggests, they did well. They did still pretty well, even their underlying is well. But they did overperform, right? I mean, Trippier, especially if you look at it, he was supposed to score about 9 or so points, but his crosses were really good. Like if you look at his post shot, they would be pretty high. But yeah, I mean, they all went in, right? So basically, created three big chances, all were converted to goal. There were actually one more big chances for Wilson, maybe could have converted. But yeah, in general, Trippier, great asset, but do keep in mind that he did overperform in this game. Same goes for Son, and again, he is one of those guys who is historically known to overperform his underlying, so that's no anomaly there. But again, um, the goals kind of came from attacks which could not have also been converted to goals potentially, right? So there's that keep in mind. But again, Son playing at number 9 is almost a no brainer. I think he is the one player that everyone will be getting. We're getting some news for Saka injury today as well. So if Saka is injured, I think Saka to Son almost is a no-brainer move for most people. But yeah, so there's that. One player that definitely stood out was Salah. Again, he did score his only goal from the penalty, but he did create again bunch of chances throughout the game. Two of the chances that he created for Darwin, they were big chances, and Darwin missed both of them. Darwin also scored another goal. So both Salah and Darwin actually underperformed, and they could have hauled like much bigger hauls, could have gotten much bigger hauls in the game. So that's something that again something to look forward to if Darwin keeps getting minutes, and I mean Salah is Salah, right? So it's very hard not to go for at least one Liverpool attacking asset from game week 8-9 onwards. It's just going to be very difficult, right? I mean, of course, Salah is 12.5 million. Whether it justifies to spend that much money for him, yeah, unless you captain him a whole lot. There is a lot of debate going on in the community about whether you can drop Haaland even, right, for Salah, because Salah is captainable in a lot of those games, post game week 9 and so on. So there is that. But yeah, I think Salah and Darwin could be definitely again if Darwin has X minutes and Salah, they could be great assets in the road. And yeah, I mean, Bruno Fernandes, of course, scored from the only big chance that he got in the game, a beautiful finish. And he was due, right? So he did underperform his numbers a whole lot in the last few games. So this was about time that he would do something for his owners. So beautiful goal. Newcastle, of course, overall, a lot of the Newcastle players would show up on this chart as overperformers because Sheffield were that bad, right? They were just clear goal chances. So even some of the low XG chances were converted. Not much to say there. Gordon is going to be pretty popular, I think, even on wild cards, especially if you want to have Haaland, Salah, and Son, and potentially Trippier in the same team. I think Gordon is a nice enabler at 5.5. Burns is injured. So yeah, he could be a really nice enabler for a lot of people. Fixtures are good as well, as we showed in the last video. Newcastle's attacking fixtures, even after the Sheffield game, are pretty good for some time in the next 4, 5, 6 games. So yeah, Gordon could be a nice enabler, so something to look an eye on. Unless Burns is back, I think he has his place there. He really did have a very good game, even apart from the goal and assist that he got. That's about it, I think, from a defender standpoint. Outside Trippier, of course, Tarkowski did well. But again, I think it's kind of an anomaly from Everton in general. But Tarko really had a very, very good game from in an isolation. Van Dijk was interesting. He created two big chances again. Those potentially could have been converted. Um, Again, if someone is short of money that you cannot extend to, like a Trent or Robbo, even just for X minutes. I mean, we have seen that in the past in previous FPL seasons also, right? Van Dijk could be a pretty good option if you want to go for a sure short Liverpool defender. But yeah, again, depends on where else you are spending your money, etc. But yeah, Van Dijk someone to keep an eye on. Estepinian again had a good game. I mean, unfortunate for his owner that he lost his clean sheet from a pretty dumb mistake from the goalkeeper. Otherwise, he was probably going to get like another 11, 12 pointer haul, right? Assisted Mitoma for his second goal. And he's still a great asset. I mean, Brighton's fixtures don't look that good defensively for in the next 2-3 game weeks until they face, I think, Bournemouth in game week 10. But I mean, if someone is still holding on to Estupinian, he's a playable asset pretty much in any game, almost in any game, unless it's against Man City or Arsenal, something like that. But yeah, that's that. As for, I think we covered midfielders and forwards, most part of it again based on last week's data. So you won't see a lot of the players, the popular players on this chart because they didn't maybe perform that well in the last game. We'll come back when we have our Game Week 7 preview video. We'll talk more about the assets to look forward to. We'll talk about the wild card. A lot of people are triggering their wild cards this game week. A lot of people who had IMAR game week 8, 9, or 10 as potential game week where they would wildcard. A lot of people would, especially if the likes of Saka, Madison, etc. are injured. So that could trigger a lot of people to wildcard essentially. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well in our preview video. But apart from that, that's all about it. Paz, thanks for being here. Yeah, Paz is asking, I'm not sure why people are selling Haaland. We'll talk about that in the preview video as well. I think there is a little bit of value in there, but I think there are enough value players in the game elsewhere, either in defense or midfield, especially where you can still manage to build a Salah and plus Son team. So we'll talk about this wildcard that's for sure in our next video. Thanks everyone for joining. That's it from me from the content. See you later this week for our preview. Thank you.